If it feels like the process of buying a new car has changed a lot over the last year, it's probably because it has, and maybe not in the direction a lot of us would like. Last year, we saw new vehicle sales fall to their lowest level in 10 years, due in large part of supply chain issues with semiconductors and other parts. That meant automakers couldn't make enough vehicles to keep up with demand, and now there's a new problem. The Fed has been raising interest rates, which makes financing a new vehicle more expensive than it's been in decades. So who better to talk about this than the car coach? Lauren Fix is a nationally recognized automobile expert and CEO of Automotive Aspects Incorporated. Thanks so much for being here. There is a number we were talking about in the newsroom, and we were like, we have to have you on, and that is $49,500. Beginning of this year, according to Kelley Blue Book, that is the average price for a new car. And when you hear that number, how does the average person even go to a dealership anymore and afford anything?
That is a huge problem. You're right. And you're thinking about almost $50,000 for a vehicle. And then, of course, the government's pushing the electric vehicles, and their average price is $66,000. That's a lot of money. And for the average person to say, oh, I'm just going to sell whatever it is I have and buy this is really unreasonable. There's no incentives. There's no discounts on financing, and the finance rates are not going down, as you're continually talking about on your network. And it's also interesting to note that we're at a 17-year high of repossessions because people were using the money they were getting during COVID to pay for their car payments. They were home, they were making money, and now they don't have that any longer. And so the repossession rate is high, mostly among Gen Z and millennials, and that's not good.
So what has to happen, and is there anything really that can happen in the short term to make cars more affordable?
Well, that's going to be a problem. I know the government's offering an incentive of up to $7,500 on certain electric vehicles, but that's only on a lease. If you get upside down, you lose your job, something happens in your life and things change, you're stuck with the lease. They usually don't buy that lease back. You can use swaplease and other companies like that, but that still puts you upside down. And it hurts your credit as well. So it's really important that if you're thinking about buying a vehicle, it's not just the vehicle cost itself, it's the insurance. And insurance rates are higher, and it's a lot higher on electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids, which is what the government is incentivizing. So while you think you're saving money, you really need to look at the full budget. Do I have to get an electric charging station? What does that cost? Yes, you'll save money on the maintenance, but tires wear out quicker. So nothing is free in life, and we all know that. So when you're getting money, at first you were getting money from the government because of COVID, now that's gone. And so you really need to think about, what is my job situation? And if worse comes to worse, keep the vehicle you have and maintain it is probably the best investment.
Yeah, so much to think about when you think it used to just be fun to go and test drive a vehicle, and now all those other aspects coming into play. And with interest rates, a lot of dealerships, they borrow money to be able to pay for the cars that they have. How are these interest rates impacting them? How is it being passed down to us when the bill comes for what a car is?
Yeah, you're talking about what's called floor planning. So basically, when a dealer buys the cars from the manufacturer, they have to finance that. Now, they're not paying the full amount of the vehicle. They have a special deal going between them. There's all kinds of other incentives going back and forth. But still, if that vehicle sits on the lot for a long time, which not much is sitting on the lots these days because there isn't that much inventory, then, it costs them more and more money, and they're more enthusiastic to sell you that vehicle, especially at the end of the month when they comes around to having to pay their finance charges. That's why in the past it was always the end of the month, the end of the quarter, the end of the year were great times to buy cars. Well, that's all changed because of what's going on with used cars and new cars. So what I've told people is, if you're thinking about buying a new car, your best bet is to order it. If the dealer wants to charge you over what the sticker price is, they call it ADM, additional dealer markup, or a market adjustment fee. Do not pay those. Do not buy from those dealers. There are other dealers. I live in the Buffalo area, and all the local Buffalo and Rochester dealers have agreed not to add on ADM or additional dealer markup. And that's good for customers. So I'm sure there's other areas in the country. I have friends that have flown into Buffalo to buy a car to save $30,000. And that, to me, that's absurd. If you pay that much more for the vehicle, you'll never get that money back. That money in a lease payment will make the lease unaffordable. I've heard lease payments well over $1,200 a month. Most people can't afford that.
No. And just a quick last question here. I just want to bring up, you touched on used cars. Are those worth it right now? Is that the direction someone should go?
Well, used car prices have softened, which is really good for consumers because they're starting to get inventory into dealers, and that's good if you're looking at a new car. There's really no cars under $20,000 anymore, so used cars are a great option. Try to find something that's low mileage, but before you buy any used car, have an ASE certified technician check it out. Don't get caught up with, oh, it's okay, you can trust me, or a friend or a neighbor or some guy in the corner. We call them curb stoners, because you could get caught, and then you end up with the bill on you. So the best thing you can do is buy from that brand. If it's a Volkswagen, buy it at a VW dealer. If it's a Ford, buy it at a Ford dealer. And that will save you money because they'll back their product and it'll protect you in case something goes wrong.
The car coach, CEO of Automotive Aspects. I think I'm going to be stuck with my Subaru a little bit longer. Thank you so much for your insights.
Not a bad car.
All right, we'll be right back.